Manny Moicano turned down money from the UFC. Now, that might sound like a joke, but it's actually true. Renato Moicano turned down $200,000 from the UFC lawsuit. This is kind of ironic for someone that says, I can't afford to lose. Show Me the Money is the name of his podcast, and his nickname is Manny Moicano. To see him turn down $200,000 on principle is surprising. The fans are kind of split. You have some people saying, oh, Moicano's a real one. He's kissing up to the company. And you have some other people that are saying, what an idiot, dude. The company doesn't give a fuck about you. And we'll get into all of that. But to give you the full scope of what happened, the UFC was in a years-long legal battle with a group of former fighters that were suing the company for unfair business practices, essentially alleging that the company was an illegal monopoly and that they exerted illegal power to maintain control of that monopoly. Most of the allegations had to do with dirty contract business, essentially dirty contract tactics. Fighters were not able to go fight for other promotions. Well, also many things came out in discovery, such as Dana White text messages with the Fertittas talking about drowning particular fighters so that they couldn't get more money elsewhere and putting them on ice, meaning not booking them fights so that they could maintain control and get someone to agree to a contract. One of the names that came up was Eddie Alvarez. Another one was Demetrius Johnson, were people that were mentioned in text messages by Dana White, along with John Jones, who him and Dana apparently have a good relationship now, or maybe it's on the rocks with him not letting John fight on the White House card. Dana White had a lot of negative things to say about John Jones in those text messages, but the antitrust lawsuit for these unfair business practices was settled at $375 million, and all of the fighters involved received somewhere between about $100,000 and $300,000, depending on how many fights they had in the UFC. Back to the point of this video is that Renato Moicano, Manny Moicano, turned down the money that he was owed from this antitrust lawsuit. Now, here's what he had to say.
I love UFC.
Yeah.
I did not pay the money that they sent to the fighters. The fucking, how they call the lawsuit. Yeah.
Wait,
that's
hold on. So they sent you from the settlement. They sent you money and you didn't accept it.
Yeah, I just had to put my name over there, but I did not. But
when
take
they
it.
sent you the actual check, or you're saying you didn't sign it?
I did not sign it. I did not sign it.
You don't believe in that shit. I mean, what kind of money are we talking?
This is like $200K
per person.
Depends on how many fights do you have.
You're saying you turned down that type of money? No, you didn't.
I'm telling you, you can look it up. Only 3% of the fighters refused the money.
Walk me through this. Like you physically had a check that was for that amount.
Look, what they did was somebody started a claim. I think it was Kangli.
But I'm saying you said no on the front end of being a part of it, or you said no when the check is
no,
there?
we don't. You both, because what happened is the lawsuit would happen without me, without my consent, you know?
Now, it's kind of hard. Moicano with broken English, he might actually not fully understand the entire process of what happened, but his principles as to why he didn't do it, you'll see right here.
Right. But they went through saying that UFC did not pay the fighters fair enough. But this is like, let's say, you got a girl today and you fuck her, and like 2 years later he say, hey, the guy raped me. Yeah. You know, because that's what it is. You know,
right.
You
agreed to it already.
I agree with, because I remember my first fight in UFC was 8-8. Was 8-8 to fight, and then what they say is, hey, you know that 8-8 that was wrong with you because they take advantage of you. It's the same thing. You know, you have a girl and then somebody talk to the guy, hey, the guy abused you and this and that. So that's what I'm saying. And then they did the lawsuit. And
so I actually understand Moicano's logic here. He's saying that I agreed. I signed a contract at the time. I agreed to it. I'm going to stick true to my word. I understand that. This is very on brand for Moicano, but this is what he had to say further.
And the fucking lawyer was calling me like every week.
Yeah.
And he was saying, hey, you have to sign that. You have to sign that. And even a girl went to the gym, to America Top. She says, hey, you have to sign that. I'm looking like to everybody that has the fair share. If you did not sign, they're going to split your money on the other fighters, you know. They're not going to get the money back.
Okay.
Of the 700 fighters, only 3 or 4 did not accept, but they don't say the names.
So you're one of only a handful?
Yes.
He's one of only a handful because he's crazy for turning down this money. The money didn't go back to the UFC. He said that himself. The money went back into the pool for the fighters. Other people made money off of it. You can even see right here. Ally Aquinta said, more for the rest of us. Tatiana Suarez, facepalm. Markel Martin, who is Francis Ngannou's manager, says, LMAO, help me understand. In what world does this make sense? Hey, at least this guy's exercising his rights. Yeah, I mean, I understand where he's coming from. I know that the UFC changed his life. But Dana White's over here putting down like $1 million hands on blackjack. So for him to just send this money back to the company or think for some reason just not accept it, the money's still gone. TKO had to cut a massive check. I would not have done this, dude. It's $200,000. One of the most highly criticized names in the mixed martial arts community, former UFC heavyweight, former NFL football player, if I'm not mistaken, college football player, some shit like that. And now attempted comedian and podcaster Brendan Schaub. He reacted to Renato Moicano turning down the money, and he went in.
Turns down $200K settlement check in a bizarre display of UFC solidarity. Here's the thing, Moicano. That money is getting allocated no matter what, buddy. No matter what. You being a company man and not taking it doesn't give you an inch of good grace with the UFC. This does not matter. There's guys that are more famous than you that are fighting right now that are taking their settlement. You will never make more money than when you fought Islam for the belt. That will never happen to you again. And your wife's fucking pregnant. You have a fucking young kid. You're never going to be champion. And you want to give up $200,000. Just so you know, Moicano.
Okay, he's not wrong. As much as we don't like Brendan Schaub for the most part in this community, he's not wrong about what he's saying. I'm surprised that he brought the wife and kids into it, to be honest, but hey, I don't have a wife or kids, so maybe that's just not something that crossed my mind. But him, Brendan Schaub, as a dad, it makes a certain level of sense that that's how he's thinking about it. Now, he's not wrong, but he's also salty as fuck because him and Dana are not on good terms. Dana White has called him so many names over the years. He's called him an idiot, stupid. Does anybody listen to Brendan Schaub? He's salty for show. And he's a 40-year-old man with his hair bleached blonde. You can't see it in this clip. He's not wrong, but he is just, you can tell he's salty about Dana and he wants other people to not like Dana as well.
Dana bets with $200,000 every night. Like it ain't shit. So if you think in his mind, he's going, well, Moicano didn't take the money. Let's hook this guy up. You don't know the fucking world, dude. And you're in the fucking most cutthroat business in the world. And you're letting it pass you by. But you think you're being a good company man with a company that could give two fucks about you. It's mind-blowing.
I agree with Brendan Schaub, but it's just hard for people to take it seriously when it's coming from him and when you consider how much issue he takes with basically everything Dana does. If you watch Brendan Schaub's, I think it's called the Brendan Schaub Show. If you watch Brendan Schaub's show, so much of it is Dana did this. Dana went on this podcast, not this podcast. So while Schaub is right, it's hard to take him seriously, you know? Moicano responded. He said, a contract is a contract. If you believe it was bad, you shouldn't have signed it. Simple as that. Deal with your actions. Free market. Now, I understand this is the honorable move. Ben Davis said, Renato Moicano saying money isn't everything on his podcast, Show Me the Money, is quite ironic. Very dumb move by Money Moicano. He said, I like money, but there are some principles that are non-negotiable. If you don't get that, it's all good. Everyone makes their own choices. I understand he's a man of principle. That's why he said he wants to be a SWAT officer or something like that once he's done fighting so he can shoot bad people. I remember that interview. All of the times that Money Moicano has talked about American values being important to him and freedom, property, liberty, all that stuff. We understand. Okay. I still think this is a fucking terrible idea. Terrible idea. Renato Moicano had even more to say because he said, I'm amazed by how many people are cursing me out for my decision not to take the money. I believe those who are criticizing me haven't stopped to think about something simple. You shouldn't need a contract for your word to mean something. I agreed to the contract. At the time, the money was huge for me. I don't expect the UFC to acknowledge this. The UFC is a company and a company focused on productivity. I'm doing this for myself and the things that I believe in. If you think I'm wrong, that's okay. That's the beauty of freedom. Everyone has their own life. Ruin it however you want. Nothing in the world is free. And he went on to say, I don't agree with a lot of things the UFC does. For example, not allowing fighters to put sponsors on their fight shorts, but when I signed a contract, I accepted those terms. If you're not satisfied, don't sign the contract. Monopolies are created by law. UFC bouts, other promotions, they agree that was a free market. We have other shows like PFL, so there's no legal barriers for the other promotion. UFC bought. Okay. Now, MMA Guru jumped in to defend Moicano, who he's friends with, and said, not making money from the UFC lawsuit is the type of move that gets Moicano chosen for a title shot over Dariush and Gamrot when Arman pulled out against Makhachev. Why expect Moicano to make an anti-UFC decision when he still had a good portion career left on their roster? Did the UFC give him a title shot because he showed like solidarity with the UFC and turned down the money? I really doubt it. I really doubt it. He probably had the smallest contract out of Gamrot, Dariush, and himself, and they said, cool, we're going to give it him and we're going to give him a big bump. Still won't have to be as much as the other guys. Maybe. Down here, he turned down $150K. And I bet he made an increase of way more than that, which is true. Moicano's probably a $150,000 fee type of fighter. And I believe he got upwards of $900K or $1 million for the Makhachev fight on 24 hours notice. While I don't want to fence sit too much because I do disagree with that, I say take the money and then do well in the octagon so that the UFC has to pay you more anyway. There is an argument for him being a company man, possibly getting him a title shot. And there is an argument for being a company man paying off in the long run. Moicano has done the analysis desk before in post-fight and pre-fight. Bisping is a UFC meat writer. Bisping is a UFC glazer, company man through and through. And he's doing shows as a commentator 20 times a year, making $40K for that. He also gets to plug his podcast on UFC platforms, and he's deeply involved with the UFC. Like he owns a UFC gym location and stuff like that. There is an argument to being a company man, being a net positive for Moicano. So I understand what Guru's saying here. And at the end of the day, I understand the principle that Renato Moicano is standing on by denying this money. But at the same time, I feel like you got to make the money that you can make when you can make it. And he should have taken that money. That's what he would have done. But I don't know his financial situation, and I don't know what I would have done in that situation. If the UFC was to try to give me $200K, I'd probably say yes. So that's my thoughts. Let me know yours down below. Would you have taken the money? Yes or no? Did you like this video? Then like and subscribe down below. I also do multiple live streams per week, along with behind the scenes content and members only live streams for our channel members. So become a channel member for access to bonus content. It's only $5 per month and it greatly helps the channel's growth. I also do a podcast with my best friend Bo, and I have a non-MMA channel as well called Wyatt's World. You can check both of those out linked below.